Hey folks, Mr. Dell here. We are looking at a problem that has us identify x and y intercepts of graphs and of from either a graph or from functions, I should say, from relationships, from either the graph or from a table. So this is a problem that is coming from CPM's Math 1, and this is section 1.2.2, problem 1-48, number 48. So it says find the x and y intercepts for the graphs of the relationships in problems 1-47. So it wants the graphs, the x and y intercepts of the relationship. So if we start with A is here. So remember x and y intercepts. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So this being the x-axis, right? This is my x-axis. So where on the graph, where does that relation cross, right? So it crosses here and there. That's where it crosses the x-axis. So those would be the x-intercepts is what they would be. So abbreviated x-int. So that's an x-intercept, and so is that, right? So what we need to do is identify that point, right? And so remember, all points are written as an x comma y. It's an ordered pair, right? An ordered pair is how you write a point. So my ordered pairs for A, the x-intercepts, this one here would be -1 because the x value is negative. It looks like -1 there. So that ordered pair would be -1 comma 0. And then the other ordered pair, that one there, so that's -1 comma 0. That one there, the x is 1, so the ordered pair would be 1 comma 0, right? So the y is 0 for both of those because it's along this axis. The value of y along the x-axis is always 0. So the other intercept would have been the y-intercept they were asking for, and that's where it crosses the y-axis. So again, this axis here, the vertical axis is the y-axis. So that point there is the y-intercept, right? And again, its ordered pair would be what the x is, and x in this case is 0 because it's along the y-intercept or y-axis. Along the y-axis, x is always 0, and then the y value is 4. Okay, so let's transpose that to my answers down below. So we said that the x-intercepts were -1, 0, and 1 comma 0, and the y-intercept was 0 comma 4. So that's A. All right. B is a table. So with the table, again, I want to know what the x-intercept. You got to know x-intercept is always something comma 0. The y is always 0. The y-intercept is always 0 comma something, right? The x is always 0 for the y-intercept. So you got to understand, if I say x-intercept, y is 0. Y-intercept, x is 0. It's the opposites are the zeros. So which of these points would the 0 be on the y? Well, that one right there, the 19. So 19 comma 0 is the x-intercept because the x is 19, the y is 0. So for the y-intercept then would be this point here where x is 0 and y is -3. So we'll transpose those down here. So the x-intercept was 19 comma 0 and the y-intercept was 0 comma -3. All right. So with this C, again, we have another table, input output. So I'm looking for my zeros. So remember, as I pointed out up here, right? So the x-intercept is always the y is 0. The y-intercept, the x is always 0. So if I'm starting with my x-intercepts, where is the y 0? So if I notice, y is 0 here and here, right? So it's this point and that point. So those would be considered x-intercepts because that's what where the y is 0. So we would say those points are -2 comma 0 and 4 comma 0. So those are the x-intercepts. The y-intercept is where the x is 0. So the x is 0 here. So this point is 10. The x is 0. So it's 0 comma 10. Okay. So we look again now for D. I am dealing with a graph. So I'm looking at the places where they cross the axes. Looks like it hits the x-axis here and here. So those 2 points, the first one, the x is -1 and the y is 0. The second one this one here, the x is positive 1 and the y is 0. So again, two x-intercepts. For the y-intercept, where does it cross? It crosses the x-axis or the y-axis right there. So where is that? Looks like that would be at -1. So 0 for the x and -1 for the y. So those are my intercepts for those relations.